I'm so excited to be back on YouTube, and buckle up, because today we're going to dive into how I created this set and the audio workflow that made post-production as easy as humanly possible. And I'm also going to jump into how my experience working in live production this year influenced a few changes to my set, which I'll reveal at the end of this video. The philosophy behind my first generation of the YouTube setup I used was to have something that was visually appealing, kind of following a little bit of the YouTube trends, which admittedly included some cringy RGB lighting, but it was a space that I could easily set up with minimal lights and tear down to be able to have my office space back. Now, obviously, my new setup takes over the entire office and I'm not tearing it down every single day. What this allowed for in those early days of YouTube was kind of a pre-video ritual. I set up the same thing every single time, and it got me into the headspace of sitting down to record a talking head video, which was the glue I used to piece all of my videos together. After lots of experimentation, I landed on what arguably was the most obvious basic setup. I got the Aperture 6090 softbox attached to a 200D. It creates an incredibly soft light, and with the grid, you're able to control it from spilling onto the background, which in my original setup was those really cringy RGB lights. The second light you'll see in my setup is an eye light. Now, with the invention of tube lights, it's super easy to put one of those just out of frame below your camera, and it fills in a lot of those really ugly shadows that tend to get created by a lot of overhead lighting. Now, moving on from lighting, one of the biggest questions that I got was how I was post-producing my audio to make it sound the way that it did. And the reality is, if you know anything about audio, the biggest things that you need to make sure you're doing is not creating unnecessary background noise that you're then going to have to filter out later. And so that's why for my audio setup, I kept it pretty simple. For a microphone, I was using the Sennheiser MKH50, plugging it straight into the Sony FX3 top handle. This meant I didn't have to do any syncing in post, and the audio was ready to rock and roll. One of the key features of this whole setup is the Sennheiser is an extremely low self-noise microphone. So that meant in order for me to record YouTube videos, I wasn't even thinking about audio levels. This is going to hurt a lot of audio engineers, but I just set that microphone to auto gain, which meant that if I decided to start talking quite a bit louder or I started whispering, because the microphone itself wasn't generating extra noise, the ability for the camera to gain up and down in real time very quickly was a peace of mind that allowed me to spend more time focusing on recording these videos and less time fiddling with getting my audio's levels just right. I'm by no means an audio engineer, but I know just enough to be a little bit dangerous and actually get some pretty good results. And one of the tips that I've picked up along the way is knowing exactly what plugins to work with and how you can set them up to be one-click application. And that's exactly what I did for my YouTube stuff. Starting out, one of the best plugin suites that I ever bought was the Isotope RX10 Advanced Suite. Now, it comes with a little bit of a hefty price tag, which can be a little bit cost prohibitive for some. But oh man, as soon as I bought it, I've used it on everything. And that was the first thing that I used in my chain for YouTube, starting with their advanced vocal noise reduction. Following that, I'm a huge fan of FabFilter, and I use their EQ, compressor, noise gate, and limiter. I didn't use all four of them on my YouTube, but I think for that I used just the EQ and compressor, and they have really, really great presets, especially for a male voice, that you can just one click and you have your EQ and compression set and ready to go. And for me, it just gave that extra little bit of sparkle on top of everything else. Well, I hope that video was helpful for you today. And my goal with this is to make things as efficient and clean and high quality as possible. And hopefully this new 2.0 set will allow me to do that. So until next time, when I feel like making another video, I'll see you guys around.